Hey, Care Partners. Welcome to Memory Care with Teresa Youngstrom. So glad you're here. We have another exciting podcast for you today. And we have a special guest speaker. I don't know if you know about Toni Fisk, but you're about to learn about my friend Toni. Toni Fisk is published author of a 2021 Amazon #1 bestseller, Dignity with Dining, Unlocking the Mystery of Dementia and Dining, in addition to several professional publications. She's been engaged in the food and hospitality industry for more than 35 years. Her professional career encompassing Walt Disney World, Epic Center, and the Marriott hotels before transitioning to healthcare and senior living. Toni's daily operational engagement at senior living communities across the United States stoked a concern regarding the care, training, and tools that were accessible to all the pillars of support services who were caring for our elders, particularly those living with dementia. This path was a foundation for Dinnerware, HC Incorporated, her business. Initially, the core business was dignity based clothing protectors, fidget quilts, growing to dining operations, quality initiatives, and food safety. Then going the next step of dementia education, training for enhanced dining activities. Toni provides speaking engagements and training workshops for family caregivers and residential community staff members. And the thing about Toni is she's always in another state. It's hard to keep up with her. So welcome Toni Fisk to the program.
Hi, Teresa. Happy to be
Hey,
here.
so great. So what state are you in today?
Well, I'm still in New York, but I am in upstate New York.
Okay. All right. And
Mhm.
it seems like every time I catch up with you, you're out west, you're down south, so you love to travel. So that's awesome.
Yeah, I do. There's no grass growing underneath my feet, and it's wonderful to get out because you are exposed to a lot of different companies and programs, and don't forget the people,
Yeah.
and see some awesome, great best practices, and then also see, unfortunately, opportunities to pitch in to help make some corrections as we care for persons living with dementia, not only ourselves as the care partners, which is important.
Oh, hugely important. I think I met you through Teepa Snow's organization and probably the Solitary Birds. And when I heard you'd written a book, I was so impressed. So tell us a little more about writing the book.
Oh gosh, let me tell you. Writing books is not a simple task. However, once you get into it and get that comfort level of how you're putting the pieces together, the information flows because it comes from your heart, it comes from your experiences. And then when I put this book together, I really made it a point that I wanted to speak in regular people speak. I didn't want to get clinical. I'm not a clinician. I am a hands-on operator. I'm certified, dementia practitioner on a couple different levels and trainer and whatnot. But I found that even when I was doing some of the research, literally I would start to read even an article, let alone a book, and knock out in a couple of minutes. It was just too complex. It was like, let's get to the point. Tell me what I need to know. And that was my method that I decided to put the book together. And I love the book. I was actually rereading it the other day, and I felt warm and fuzzy about it because it's still legit. The information is important. It's an awesome tool. So thank you for
Yeah.
highlighting it.
Yeah, well, I'm excited to have it. I bought it right away as soon as you said they were available because, it's just a perspective that I wasn't familiar with. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, I've helped people eat their meals, but I've seen a lot of, like you said, some good technique, but some really appalling technique. And you have caregivers who are short-staffed and they're in the dining room, and so they're feeding two people at the same time, and I'm just shaking my head. And I'm like, we need Toni here. We need Toni technique. And so I don't think we grasp even food placed on the plate, color of the plate. I mean, tell us a
Mm-hmm.
minute about color of the plate. Is that important or is that just not?
No, it is important because, as you know, that as you go through the different levels of dementia and you begin to, degrade, really, your vision becomes impaired and it gets narrower and narrower and narrower in your field of vision, what you can see. So anything that you can do to make the food pop where it is something that they can see and they can identify what it is very important, because even though they may have cognitive challenges, like, we also retain a lot of our history. So we know what a nice piece of meatloaf looks like. We know what a piece of chicken looks like. We can recognize those because the socialization of the dining room also helps to set that stage. We're here for mealtime. We're not here for bingo. We're not here to watch TV. We're here for mealtime. You have the smells that are happening. You have certain, key sounds, not banging and a lot of people chit-chatting, but you have the sounds of mealtime. And then all of that comes together to help them to, understand, okay, it's mealtime. I smell the food. And then as hopefully they're able to feed themselves and work through those processes. And then once the taste buds get rolling, then it helps to for them to consume. But the color of the plates is important. If you have, generally, we have white plates, right? That's pretty much the general standard. But if you have a white plate and then you have a piece of turkey on it with the light brown gravy, and then you have mashed potatoes, which are white, and then I've seen this, I swear, and then cauliflower, it's just like, just kill me now. I mean, what do you
Worst
guys
scenario.
we, as a food service professional, 101 says it's colors. You don't put three of the same color and then you put it on a plate and literally they cannot see it.
Mm-hmm.
And then at some point they're going to lose interest and then they sit back and they don't want to eat. And then that leads to other issues.
Right. And I love what you said about, it's dinner time, it's not bingo. And so they need routine, right?
Yep.
And then the smells do play into getting them in the right brain set to consume the food. Okay,
Yep.
so I'm really glad you clarified whether the color on the plate was important or not, and obviously it is. And I hope more home care more residential places think about that and are pertaining. I guess, is that in their training now? You probably know about that. Is that part of training for, say, a long-term care community?
Teresa, it's sad, but this is not a focus of whatever dementia training is being provided.
Mm-hmm.
It's just almost a second thought. A lot of focus is placed on the ADLs and how they're managing those, daily activities. And food is a huge component. Even when you're a, normal person in a home setting, whether it's assisted, skilled, memory, or even independent living, what are the top three times of the day? It's mealtime. Those are critical time, something that they can control, because you get to choose your menu. Sometimes you choose where you sit, you choose what you want to eat, whether you don't want to eat or you do want to eat, or you want more or less, whatever the case may be. And not enough attention is paid to the dining experience. It's a huge opportunity for socialization, to get the liquids in, the hydration, to get the proteins in, and then identifying those particular residents, and I'll call them residents in this case, what they're doing while they're eating. So if you're feeding someone in their room and you're dropping a tray and then you leave, you don't know what's happening. And then, this is just a tray passer, and it could be someone from dietary. It could be someone from nursing. They have an agenda. They're in a hurry. They've got to check the boxes. They just pick up the tray and they keep on moving. But, but at least in the dining room, you can see how they're engaging with other people. Are they copying and mimicking the person across from them? Are they, they eat with their hands? Or they struggle with opening something? Are they not eating anything on the left side of their tray? Remember that vision could be altered, right? Are we giving them a whole, 4-course meal in one setting, bam, and it's overwhelming? So in that case, they'll just choose to do nothing. right? There's a lot of different things that are going on. So you need to see how that individual is responding and reacting during mealtime, and giving them the opportunity to show what their skill set, interests, capabilities are. And then from that point, you need, as an experienced person who knows, need to come in and work with the OT and the PT and the speech therapist on what you can do to increase the consumption of food.
Right. You're so right. And I don't think there's time for enough training frequently for the meal passers, the dining room help to understand. And also I worked in a place where it was a memory care assisted living, and the aides were the dining room help too.
Mm-hmm.
They had to do both. And there was also a binder there with like 50 residents that they needed to go through and make sure everybody got a meal. And I thought, oh my word. So when I came in to be the director, I said, we need to have a daily page with all the names on it for every meal. So you can look at one page and check everybody off. You can't be flipping
Mm-hmm.
through 50 pages, because you know what? People were falling through the cracks because maybe for some reason Mary Ellen was too tired this morning and she didn't want to come out for breakfast. Well, we needed to get breakfast to her, and it was one more thing these two aides had to do. It was pretty crazy because they were responsible for getting all the folks to the dining room, getting the meal served, and tables cleared, and then getting everyone who wasn't, the wheelchair folks need help, or, the walker folks need extra help sometimes too, getting on to the next thing. So there's just so much room. And that was probably 10, 15 years. I'm older than I want to be. But that was a while back. And so hopefully that has changed, but I'm just telling you what I witnessed back then. And sometimes, in a long-term care place, I remember in Skilled, where I was visiting a woman, and the person that delivered the tray just sat it at the very bottom of the bed on the bedside table and walked out, and there were things to open. There were milk cartons, and fruit cups to peel back and that sort of thing. So hopefully we've come a long way from that, but you really impress upon me all the extra training that needs to be done. Tell me more about hydration. How about the hydration thing? Because it seems like, I know with my dad at home, I'm forever encouraging him to drink something because he just doesn't think about it.
Right, right. So hydration is a biggie, and it's just not a question of you put a glass in front of them and expect them to drink. Once again, it depends on their level of cognitive ability, but there are things that we can do. So if we are serving let's say a coffee, and this is where I say, know thy resident. Okay. Do they drink it with milk and sugar? Do they drink it black? Do they drink it with sugar only, cream only? I mean, what are the varieties that can happen? What if they don't like coffee? What if they're a tea drinker? How do we know these types of things? Because if you put a cup of coffee in front of me and it's got cream in it, well, I'm not going to touch it. It just, so visually I recognize, and I don't want it because I don't drink. In my last, 50 years on the earth, I never put milk in my coffee. And you need to understand what my preferences are, that I don't like cream in my coffee, so serve it to me black. Now, unfortunately, I may or may not be able to verbalize that. However, it's always important that we are, as even ourselves right now in our lives, is that we're preparing for something to happen. And our family has to be prepared for something to happen, so that we have a list of preferences that are available, because if I can't communicate that. So if you put coffee in front of me, and let's say I've had a bad morning, I've had a rough morning, and, I cherish my cup of tea, and you put a cup of coffee in front of me, and I go to push the coffee away because I'm here. I've had it. It's done. I've had a rough day already. And I go to push it away and I knock it over. And now I've made a mess. What's going to happen next? Right? So what are the reactions going to be? And then what am I going to be labeled as? Meanwhile, as you said before, we need to go back and put on our detective hats and figure out, well, why did Toni push her coffee away? Yeah. Oh, wait. And then someone comes, oh, wait, Toni doesn't like coffee. or she doesn't like milk in her coffee. And that's when things can go awry, because hopefully there is communication amongst the care partners in a community where they understand what my preferences are. So provide the beverages that they want to drink, and with the appropriate condiments when they're drinking them. Put them in vessels that they can manage. So sometimes it's like the fancier you get with the china and the cups and the glassware and the silverware, the worse off it is, because if it's a beautiful mug, maybe I don't have the hand strength to pick it up. And then I'm worried about spilling it, or I did burn myself, or I spilled it on the front of my blouse. Now I'm embarrassed and I don't want to go through that again because someone chastised me, or I feel that, oh, now everybody's looking at me. So in that case, oh, I'm not thirsty, or I'm not hungry because I don't have the hand strength to manage the cup or the utensil or whatever the case may be. So having the right vessel to provide those liquids in is important. During the daytime, make sure that there's a favorite cup around if they're in a home environment. Maybe if they're a Giants fan or a Jets fan, like for your father, was he Steelers?
Bengals.
Bengals. Okay. So, you've got your Bengal mugs placed in different places in the room or in the house, where when he sees it, he may be naturally more drawn to it as opposed to just the glass or a regular squeeze ball or something, and will go and take a sip from it. And then you can also measure how much has been consumed. But having those types of beverages around where they can have access to it, in a public community, it's not that simple to have miscellaneous things laying around. But if you have a hydration station, so that could be just, the pitcher where maybe you're putting fruit in it, maybe you're putting herbs in it, and maybe it's just plain old water. I seem to feel like a lot of our seniors don't like ice. They don't like cold water. They just like straight, room temperature water, and have those in key places with cups that they can manage. And I tell everyone, so when I do my classes, I use the cups that we normally use, and you can't pick them up. They're too slick, even for us. Like, they'll slide right out of your hand. What do you think's happening to someone with limited vision, limited hand strength, limited ability to navigate through these things? All it takes is for them to knock it over once or twice, and then they just forget it. It's too much work.
Not worth it.
Right. So, we have to be smart about what we're doing, and we need to experience it, walk a mile in my shoes. And, this experiential dining experience it's amazing when I conduct those during my classes.
Incredible. And then this, having cups sitting around, say you did put lemon in their water and then those cups are sitting around, then we're start to think about, food safety.
Mm-hmm.
And what if they pick that glass up 3 days later, And so I'm sure everything about, what is it called? Foodborne, anyway, just food poisoning. And so tell me more about that. And what are some things you teach about how do we do food safety? Because my father is colorblind and his sense of smell is pretty much shot.
Mm.
And so he would not be able to read a date on a package of meat, and he wouldn't be able to tell you that it's gray or not, because lots of things look gray in his world. So, problem right here.
Yeah, that's an interesting challenge, being colorblind. That's a new one, Teresa. I think, do you remember back in the day that when mom would prepare for dinner and she'd take the chicken out of the freezer and just leave it on the counter all day?
Oh, yeah.
We all survived it somehow.
Slack it out right there. Yeah.
But that's not the best way to go about things. And I think that if, in a home environment, that we really need to be able to, if we're available, to partner with our loved one to ensure that the food items are being held and managed appropriately. And in that case, I would be sure to get some type of labels. And this is another thing. It's like, okay, let's plan on the menu. Let's talk about the menu for the next 3 days. and you put a big label that says Tuesday lunch or Wednesday breakfast on it, and then kind of set them up for success in their refrigerators or their cabinets, and you have the big menu. Invest in those wipe off boards, or print them out on a big sheet of paper in larger font, and that helps keep them organized too, and you can ensure that they're eating and you can check it off. And sometimes you can go further out, and sometimes you need to narrow it down to a day or two.
Yeah.
But, if you're buying food from the store, then you should buy it ready to eat. It should be already thawed and slacked out, and buy in smaller quantities. And that's the name of the game in the home environment. Washing of the hands. I wouldn't want my mom, if she was, even able to still be at home, handling a lot of raw food. I wouldn't want that to happen anyway, because then, okay, that requires using a knife, using a cutting board. And then, okay, I break it out of the package. Now I've got it in my hands. What did I do with the trash? Then I'm touching every doorknob with chicken gack on my hands. But if it's cooked and it can be portioned and, work together and cooking and portion it out, there's a lot of different ways to do this, but really try to manage the process in a tighter fashion so that there isn't a lot of raw meat laying around. The groceries it's not a whole refrigerator full of milk and cheese and even bread for that matter. Moldy bread that'll kill you too. There's a lot of different things.
Oh, this cheap bread today, I don't think it molds. It's crazy. People that use the cheap bread, I've just noticed that. But I love what you're saying. And I have preached to my siblings. Sorry. I've preached to my siblings, and my dad does have some caregivers, about labeling things. Here's the masking tape and the markers, and label the leftovers. When he opens that, Bob Evans mashed potatoes and uses a little bit of it, we need to have a label on it, and it shouldn't be in there. 3 to 5 days, got to go. And he doesn't like to waste food. He's 90 something years old, and so you don't waste things. I got to tell you, keeping him from shopping in the I don't know, grocery special or whatever the stuff that's about to expire, shopper special, or there's always a section there's always a section. And so, in his mind, coming from an era where there were hard times, and you don't waste money and you don't waste food, and if you can buy it cheaper, you do. And so he will frequently want to buy stuff that is on its last moment of being safe. And so thankfully I have a sister who is fabulous with shopping with him, and that's what one of the things that she does. But yeah, labeling things is so important.
Yeah.
And helping him prepare. And sometimes what they will do is just someone who's there will prepare his dinner plate for him, and all he has to do is put it in the microwave. And so they've already pre-cooked everything, and it just needs to be warmed up. But wow, I love your suggestions about having the menu planned out, so everybody's on board with what we're eating tonight, so we can make sure we're rotating the refrigerator to use up, so we don't waste food, but to use it up in some type of a scheduled way, so that we're using it before it wastes or anything like that.
Right. And the masking tape. I mean, we don't have to get fancy schmancy labels here.
No, I do masking tape and a big marker.
The best label that they use in kitchens is they have like that blue painter's tape.
Oh,
and then they take a Sharpie and they'll write on it. So it pops. You can see it. You don't have to write a whole novel. I mean, you just put whatever is on there, and then you put it on the plate, and you can't miss it. Then talk about that visual. Okay.
Oh, that's perfect. Yeah, I like that a lot. I don't want to miss asking you about My Plate for Older Adults and identifying the unique needs of, people over 60. Just managing nutrition for a person living with dementia. That was on my note there. I just want to make sure that I toss that out because I want to learn more about that.
Yeah, that is a fantastic website that is available, and it's a .gov website for seniors. For non-seniors as well, but I just recently perused through it, and just the advice and the resources that they have. They even have a link where you can calculate how many calories that you require based on your, your age, your weight, your height, your sex, and it'll give you an idea. And then it further breaks it down and gives you like a chart that tells you, okay, this equals one serving, this equals another serving, those types of things, because I think it gets a little overwhelming between trying to read all the labels that are out there. Nutrition labels are important, they're critical, so that you can look at the sugar, you can look at the added sugar, and then you can look at the sodium content, and then everything else that you're interested in. So to me, those are the three key things to look at. So the sugar may be okay within your limits, but when you look at the added sugar, it's like, OMG, what that is like ridiculous. I need to find something else. And then there's a fine balance of what you're doing. So if you're a diabetic, are you doing the sugar-free program, which isn't that great because those are artificial sweeteners, or are you doing, doing a carb program where you're counting your carbs? So, I mean, we need to transition away from the sugar-free jellies, the sugar-free pies, the sugar-free whatever, because those are all artificially sweetened, and go to carb counting. So instead of getting, 1/8 of a slice of pie, you're getting 1/12 of a slice of pie. And then you can have that delicious slice and not feel like you're, preventing yourself from living like everyone else in the house. So,
Oh gosh, yeah.
Be
And I love that
cognizant.
about the artificial sweeteners because there's so many chemicals in our food.
Mm,
And yeah, the low fat stuff and the sugar free stuff that they're supplementing something else in there that's not healthy for you to
mhm,
get that flavor you were looking for. So I
right.
love what you're saying about, have your cake and eat it too, but have a smaller piece.
Literally.
But I
Exactly.
read ingredients. I read ingredients on everything. I love that. Well, tell me one more thing. This is going so fast, but I want to know about, is it important to go to finger food or is that not respectful? What do you think?
Well, I think finger food is fun. If you went to Fridays or Applebee's or any of these places, what's the first thing that they're pushing and promoting? Well, it's finger food. The appetizers are finger food.
Absolutely.
So we kind of have to, you know, does it, who does it hurt if your mom has eating a meatball versus the meatloaf is eating with a knife and fork? Okay, it does. Who's it hurt? It doesn't. It hurts you because you can't do that. You can't eat with your hands.
Yeah.
You have to kind of get over yourself and put your agenda on a shelf somewhere. Like, listen, she's eating. She's happy. Make sure you've got gravy on the side or ketchup on the side so that she can dip that meatball in there. And, those are the way to go to get them to eat. Some folks like to walk. They get distracted easily. They don't want to sit at the table because dinner can take a long time, or they're not interested, or whatever the case may be. Then if someone has a heavy pattern of that, then maybe you can strategically place in different, like in the living room where, the sofa chair is that dad always goes to read the paper. Maybe you have like a sandwich, it's just a square. I love the machine, the sandwich maker, and you can make these pockets of food where it's like you can just pick it up and it can have, cream cheese and jelly inside of it. And it's something that they love, and it won't make a mess. I did test a bunch of recipes and they all work. So, why not?
It's a great idea.
You want them to eat something. So it's okay. We have to get over ourselves.
Right. And Tipa's taught about, the skill fingers and the strength fingers. We lose
Mhm,
this frequently and then they can't do their fork. And so I
mhm.
guess that makes perfect sense. Let them go to plan B.
Yep.
I've seen folks even hold the fork and then eat with their hand. And okay, who cares?
Mhm.
We need to get calories in, don't we?
Yep,
We have
exactly.
to get calories in. Okay, this has been great. It's gone too fast. Gosh, maybe I'm gonna have to come back because we just have so much to talk about. But I love your specialty about dining because I don't think we've given it a whole lot of time and training for so many locations. And
Mhm.
it's not okay to say, yeah, she won't eat. Well, there's so much more to look at than that.
Yep.
Has there been an incident? Has she been offended? Is there something wrong in her mouth? Is she
Yep.
sick? Yeah. Is there something there? Do they have a swallowing issue because they're, I don't know, maybe they have inflammation? Are they choking a lot? We maybe need to look into that. But I hope everyone will run out and buy your book. Hey guys, this is Toni
For sure.
Fisk, and she's my good friend. Okay. Dine with Dignity. You can find this on Amazon. It's a really great read, and it maybe is a perspective about things you haven't really considered. So, Toni, thanks for being here with me today. So appreciate it. We'll be in touch. And thanks everybody for tuning in to Memory Care with Teresa Youngstrom. And just keep in mind, you got this.